The new era is taking over in WWE, and we take an in-depth look at each of the stars who are making it happen. Why is Shane McMahon still in charge of Raw? We discuss the reasoning in this week's WWE report. Two current WWE stars speak out against the company publicly. Find out who and what they said in this week's hot news, and all that and so much more. So sit back, relax, and get ready for the longest-running wrestling talk show in the world today, right here, right now on My 24 Milwaukee and Fight TV.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report, PrimeTime TV, the longest-running pro wrestling news program in the world, with your hosts, David Hero and Damian Nelson.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, prime time for Saturday, April 23rd, 2016. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Octavius, the Tiberius, the alleged backyard one-time knockout, straight-edge, hardcore, goat face, Hall of Famer hero. How are you, David?
I still don't get the whole goat face thing. Is it because
you're a Daniel Bryan fan?
Is it because of the beard?
No, you're a Daniel Bryan fan, I thought.
Okay, all right.
Oh, were you not? Oh, I forgot. He's a smaller statured wrestler, so you probably didn't like him. How's your week, David?
It's been a challenging week, hasn't it?
It has been a challenging week. There's been some sad news, of course, which we'll talk about in Hot News. And, wow, the feedback we've gotten on yesterday's Feedback Friday is quite nuclear.
Well, yeah, that's because of you, because of all the buttons you press and all the crazy stuff that you do.
I'm a broadcast journalist. I present to you the truth, the facts as they are. Whether you choose to accept them or not, is up to you.
Well, yeah.
It's the weight that is borne on these shoulders each and every week.
It's not the weight on your shoulders, it's how you carry it.
Yeah, and I carry it quite handily.
In your hands?
I carry the weight of that task and the weight of you each and every week.
Well, bro.
And then I can't even walk because you're dragging on my coattails as well.
Well, I'm trying to keep up.
Folks, let's get to this week's big story. And, of course, this week's big story, as we talked about, is about the new era in WWE. Over the course of the last few weeks, we've seen a lot of new talents come into World Wrestling Entertainment, especially on Monday Night Raw. And since WrestleMania, we've seen many new stars move up from NXT to WWE TV. And those stars have done so with a splash in each and every case. And while many of you are familiar with these stars from NXT, we wanted to take some time to give you our thoughts on them as well. So first, let's take a look at Enzo and Cass, who are no doubt something very special on WWE TV. And not only that, they have the fans engaged in a way that I have not seen from a tag team since the days of the New Age Outlaws. From the moment their music hits, the fans are right there along with them, perhaps in an effort to make sure they're not deemed soft, S-A-W-F-T, David here like you. I have taken to this team already, and it is with no surprise. It is no surprise to see them advance in the tag team tournament. But let's not lose sight of the significance of their win over the Dudleys this past Monday night on Raw, David Hero, Enzo and Cass.
That was a humongous win for Enzo and Cass.
Is that right?
Because if you think about it, and here's my I'll wrap this up in the end, but it's amazing how the NXT kids are coming up and dominating.
Kids, how demeaning and how really condescending. You condescending person.
Triple H calls them his kids. Matt Bloom.
They're grown men who are wrestling in the ring.
The coach calls them their kids.
He can. He coached them.
Adam Pearce calls them their kids.
He can. He coached them.
I'm older than them. They're kids to me. There isn't one person at NXT older than me, except for the coaches. That's about it. But, I mean, it's just amazing how they're coming up and they're dominating on Monday Night Raw and they're dominating on SmackDown. You don't think that's a little kabuki-ish?
I don't think so at all. We'll talk about why I think overall that's happening in a moment. But specifically, Enzo and Cass, David Hero, your thoughts.
But they did great with the Dudleys. I was curious to see if the Dudleys were going to play nice. Because you knew the Dudleys were going to put them over. But how bad was Bubba going to beat him up is what I was curious.
Because he can.
Because he can. He can take liberties. And what are they going to do? They're not going to fight back. And
not even with David Horowitz.
And I figured that Enzo was going to be the guy that was going to take the brunt of it because he's the smaller of the two. And
is he smaller, or is he small comparatively speaking to Cass?
Of the four guys in the ring, he's the smallest.
Okay.
Okay. And I was like, wow. I was watching the match. I'm like, are they going to do good business or not? And the Dudleys, they beat one of the most decorated tag teams of all time.
A point made several times during commentary on that match as well.
Clean in the middle of the ring in their first match ever together. Amazing.
And advanced in the tag tournament.
That does not ever happen.
From there, though, you move on to Apollo Crews, who WWE took some time to tell us about this past Monday on Raw. Crews is certainly an impressive specimen, and his athleticism is amazing. While he may not have the fan support of Enzo and Cass yet, it seems that he may be well on his way to getting close.
I think Apollo Crews has potential to be one of the biggest stars on that roster.
Bigger than Apollo Creed?
Well, and Apollo Creed's in a whole different stratosphere.
What about Consequences Creed?
Yes, absolutely. Of course, pre-trombone Creed. Unicorn gimmick. There's a whole bunch of euphemisms with that whole team, isn't there? Crews. So I said.
Apollo.
Yes. So, this is a drinking game for some.
Baron Corbin made a splash in NXT.
Think about it. Apollo Crews has the physicality and the charisma. We haven't really heard him talk yet. He'll get there. But it's pretty amazing what he can do.
Baron Corbin made a splash in NXT, is doing the same thing on WWE Raw, especially after winning the Andre the Giant Battle Royal at WrestleMania. Monday on Raw, Corbin got a win on Fandango, but it seems that there are certainly bigger plans ahead for this impressive athlete, who you say, David Hero, may not be very well liked.
Well, my understanding is that in NXT he wasn't very liked backstage because he didn't care about anybody else but himself. And in this business, it's kind of what you have to do. Take care of your opponent in the ring, but you don't got to be his buddy, or her buddy, or their buddy, or whatever buddy you want to be. I love how they debuted Baron Corbin.
On Raw?
On WrestleMania, winning the Battle Royal, because now...
I mean, DDP was in it.
He has been legitimized because of that win. Is NXT... I hate to... You don't like me calling them kids, but that's what they are taking over Monday Night Raw.
Another tag team that has arrived to WWE is in the form of the Vaudevillains. They debuted on the Raw after Mania and then defeated the Usos to reach the finals of the tag tourney, and they're going to be facing Enzo and Cass in the finals of that tag team tournament.
And we'll be in the finals for that.
At Payback in Chicago, absolutely.
In Chicago.
We will not be chanting CM Punk.
No, of course. Who? He retired, I heard.
He walked out.
No. He retired from UFC.
No, that's Conor McGregor.
He did also.
He didn't retire. He said he's paid to promote, paid to fight, not to promote.
Well, he said he was out. Thanks for the shoes, Reebok. What does that mean?
You're supposed to figure it out on your own.
Okay.
Vaudevillains. You don't like them, do you?
I don't get it.
You don't get it?
I don't get it yet.
It does take some work to figure them out.
It does.
They're a carnival act in a wrestling business.
I see, and which makes perfect sense because that's where wrestling started, was in the carnies, you know. But I'm going to say it. Physically, it's like I don't see it.
Well, of course, though.
Are they shooters? I mean, are they like legit tough guys? Because they haven't really shown me that.
Well, of course, folks, you can't overlook Gallows and Anderson as well, who debuted just last week on Raw and are seemingly trying to rekindle the Bullet Club with AJ Styles. Now, many of us remember Gallows as Festus in the past, but that is far behind him now.
He's Doc from Aces and Eights, baby. He's a good brother.
As he and Anderson have been dominating, attacking the Usos and Roman Reigns, which seems to play in the favor of their former partner, AJ Styles, at Payback in 2 weeks. Now, we have an interesting scenario to present, which we'll do in Primetime Extra, coming up later here on our YouTube channel.
You know what? I thought Linda was the tease of the show. It's really you.
It is indeed, folks, a new breed of stars in WWE, and they are certainly already trying to build them well in advance of WrestleMania 33 in Orlando next year, which is critical.
Speaking of new stars, we have a new star debuting tonight.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, I hear that she's ready, so why don't we see who that is now? Julie Smith, take it away.
Roll it.
Coming up next, we take a look at why Shane McMahon is in charge of Raw after losing WrestleMania, along with hot news about two WWE stars who are speaking out publicly against the company, right here on Primetime.
Ring of Honor Wrestling rolls into Milwaukee on Sunday, June 12th at the Turner Hall Ballroom with a 7 p.m. bell time. Visit ROHWrestling.com now for tickets and info.
The Soder family thought they'd take a road trip this summer. A little fun, a little sun. What could possibly go wrong? Even under the best driving conditions, semi-trucks can still be dangerous. The results of being in a wreck with 40 tons of steel and speed can be catastrophic. And it only gets worse when you don't have Gruber Law Offices on your side. If you or a loved one has been injured by a semi-truck, call Gruber Law Offices now. One call, that's all.
Back fans of the Pro Wrestling Report, primetime Saturday night, Saturday, April 23rd, here on My 24 Milwaukee and Fight TV. Folks, this past Monday night on Raw from the United Kingdom, David's favorite place, Shane McMahon was in charge for the third week in a row. While the commentary team tried to explain Shane's continued role on Raw as based on fan feedback, some of those same fans have asked us why Shane continues to get the spot he lost when Undertaker defeated him at WrestleMania. Now, I, for one, have enjoyed Shane's presence on Raw, and it seems obvious why he's there. He's ushering in that new era of talent that we've seen on the show since WrestleMania that we talked about just a moment ago on this program. Without Shane there, I do not think that these talents would have been as well received as they have been, especially now since some 3 weeks in, we have this influx of new talents, stories, and matches to like or dislike, which is the easier thing to do. That's a volley.
Yeah, this is the problem with wrestling. What's the big deal?
He lost the match.
Okay, a lot of guys have lost retirement matches and they've come back.
The next week?
Mick Foley,
next week.
He lost Rumble, was headlining WrestleMania.
The next week?
A month and a half later.
Okay, so not the next week.
But what's the big? I mean, seriously, why?
Shane lost.
Why? But
the stakes in the match were if Shane won, he got Raw.
If Shane's not there, who's going to run Raw? Because Triple H and Stephanie are off TV.
For now, are they in the Barbados?
They could be, but who cares? Shane's bringing good TV right now.
He is bringing great TV.
People want to see him.
They do. Well, here comes the money.
Yeah, and Shane looks like a star. He walks out there, he looks like the guy. I'd much rather see Shane out there than Vince every week.
But here's the thing. No one in official capacity in WWE has explained why Shane is there. So when the authority comes back, there's that face-to-face confrontation with Triple H that this guy talked about. You know, I said it first. I broke that. I gave you the
before WrestleMania.
No, I didn't. I said I did not understand why it had not happened, and I was looking forward to when it will happen, and now it's going to happen.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Will Triple H get his payback before payback?
No.
After payback, because we got to do something after payback.
Well, right now payback's pretty much booked.
Yeah, I think 6-8 matches have been announced.
He'll be on the Raw after payback.
From Indianapolis?
Is that where it is? Indianapolis?
Indianapolis. It's in Indiana.
If you say it phonetically, it's Indianapolis.
So how much longer should Shane be in charge of Raw, David Hero?
Let him go for a while. I mean, why not?
Okay. So what scenario, if you don't think it's the way to go, what scenario do you think plays out when the authority finally does make their return to TV?
Why are you here? You lost.
GTFO?
Yeah. Why not?
What about Vince?
Oh, Vince is going to be a pivotal player in all that. He's like, hey, if you look, he's brought all these new, you know, here's the interesting thing, is Shane is bringing in Triple H's kids. Not his girls, but the NXT kids. So how can Triple H be upset if he's using his homegrown talent to bring them up to the main roster and making stars out of them?
You just dug too deep.
What?
You hit rock.
That makes sense.
Bottom. Also on Raw, though, David Hero, Dean Ambrose hosted the second edition of the Ambrose Asylum talk show. And, well, you know, I've come to grips with the fact that Dean Ambrose is a star in wrestling, and, you know, we've reconciled. And you, of course, still thinks he's too small.
That is only because you guys shared a moment in Dallas at, what hotel was that?
Some hotel.
Fremont?
And we didn't spend a moment at a hotel.
You did. Where's a picture of it? What did he say?
Well, you didn't like the Ambrose?
Stop. What did he say when he saw you? What did he say?
It was between him and I.
Say it, please. They need to know how that interaction went.
He said, I love this guy right here.
Yeah.
It was 3 in the morning.
It doesn't What were you doing in his hotel at 3 in the morning?
Your thoughts on the Ambrose Asylum talk show segment would be very delicate and sensitive plant.
I wish Ambrose doesn't need a talk show. He doesn't need his own segment.
I actually enjoyed it.
I think he's been overexposed on TV the same way Roman Reigns has been. If Ambrose gets Ambrose gets his own segment. It should be Piper Pit themed, where he's the antagonist. He's trying too hard to be funny.
Coconut?
Sure, maybe that's what the potted plant is for. You know, you gotta be careful, because I think they might give the fans too much Ambrose.
I don't think that's possible right now as far as the fans' perspective goes. But, folks, check out PWR Reaction live every Monday and Wednesday night after Raw and NXT, taking your live phone calls at PWRshow.com. Can't catch the show live? Subscribe to the PWR Now Network for free at PWRshow.com and get the episodes on demand.
After the break, we have this week's hot news. Event Center, TNA, and NXT reports, and DHHS in just a few moments right here on Primetime. During the break, be sure to follow TNA President Dixie Carter on Twitter at TNA Dixie.
Diamond shopping variety is important. At Robert Hack Diamonds, we'll show you multiple diamonds side by side underneath the microscope and show you what to look for when buying a diamond. GIA graduate gemologists are on staff for expert diamond grading. Robert Hack has affordable prices on all diamonds, including diamonds certified by the GIA. Need a mounting for your diamond? Our selection is huge. Buy your diamonds today at Robert Hack Diamonds, or visit roberthackdiamonds.com.
Diamonds are a girl's best friend.
Fans of the Pro Wrestling Report here on My24 Milwaukee and Fight TV. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero, and it's time for this week's hot news, which of course is brought to you by PWR Feedback Friday, where we discuss the current perils facing TNA Impact Wrestling right now.
Thank
we also
God.
respond to your comments
want to talk about
our
Las
broadcast.
Vegas.
That's every Friday night at 5 p.m. exclusively on our YouTube channel. What about Vegas?
Well,
I had a great time in Vegas.
We did.
It was a great show last week. You did a good job, David Hero.
And how about Carmine DeSpirito and Rashi Brown?
Yeah. Seems like a person was missing by what I heard Carmine say, but more important than that, Mean Gene Okerlund, Lance Russell, interview never before done, never before seen, and guess who brought it to you?
But here's the thing. That interview never, ever,
Forever?
they've never, ever worked together like that.
And again, folks, it's time for this week's hot news and some sad news to report as former WWE star Chyna, Joni Lauer, passed away earlier this week. Chyna was found unconscious in her California apartment Wednesday afternoon. Chyna was 45 years old, and the official cause of death is not yet known. We did present a special episode of Primetime earlier this week celebrating the life of Chyna, and you can see that special right now, right here on our YouTube channel. WWE announced the suspension of Adam Rose and Connor of the Ascension last week for wellness policy violations, both receiving a 60-day suspension.
So that means it's their second for both, right?
Second for both.
And Adam Rose has gone public saying...
We'll get to that right now.
Well...
But he has indeed gone public.
I never would have guessed Connor would have been on something.
Rose, who is serving his second suspension for the same, has spoken out publicly about the situation on Twitter, saying, and I quote, "My family and I are still collecting ourselves from this blow." Right choice of words.
Well, I mean, it's like a body shot.
Oh, no. I have zero anger or animosity against WWE, Rose wrote, but I feel the administrators of the WWE wellness policy were just simply not right in taking this action. Didn't stop there. Went on to say, you, the WWE Universe, have the right to know the truth over my suspension and what it was for. I feel the facts are the facts, and my family and I will be the ones putting our lives back together after this mess. My response will be up soon, along with my doctors.
Interesting. He's the first guy to really publicly go after the wellness policy.
Rey Mysterio did, remember? He got suspended. Same thing, basically. Prescribed. I don't remember how it all fell out or ended up. But
let's face it, if maybe it's medical marijuana. No, you don't get suspended for that. It's a fine.
I do know there are drugs that can show up that do indicate other things that are not, but that is generally confirmed with an immediate blood test following, and prescriptions being presented. So we don't know the details of that. He knows the details of that.
Dr. Black is not very well liked.
Blackwell?
No, Dr. Black. That's the guy's name that administers.
I thought it was Dr. White.
Well, he used to be.
WWE star Ryback recently conducted an interview in Dubai where he was also outspoken about his feelings in WWE, specifically his WrestleMania match, saying, and I quote, "The last 3 WrestleManias have not been great. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that, but it would have been nice to be on the show where both of us belongs. The United States title definitely belongs there." Now, as you know, Ryback competed against Kalisto at WrestleMania 32 in Dallas just a few weeks back. I believe that piece airing on the USA Network pre-show, which, I'm sorry, appreciate your Ryback, but if you can put me in front of 102,000 people to wrestle a match on the grandest stage of them all, I don't care if it's on the pre-show or the main show, I'm appreciative to be there.
Yeah, but you want it, the money's on the pay-per-view.
But he had a match with Cena, didn't he? A couple of years ago at WrestleMania?
No,
Ryback did? He didn't?
No, he did
You sure?
not.
Who did he wrestle at 29?
Was that New York?
Yeah.
It was Mark Henry.
Mm-hmm. And at 30?
I don't remember.
Oh, he claims the last 3 WrestleManias have not gone as he would have liked.
Well, no, of course not, because he wasn't main eventing.
And is he going to now?
Oh, God, no.
The E! Network has announced that the Bellas will be getting their own reality show on the network. Total Bellas will air in a 6-episode run in the fall on the E! Network. The show will be focused not only on Nikki and Brie Bella, but on John Cena and Daniel Bryan and their respective injuries and recoveries as well.
People Power, he'll be on there because
John Laurinaitis.
Yeah, he married Mama Bella.
Folks, in ratings news this week, TNA saw an increase while Raw falls pretty hard. TNA Impact drew 312,000 viewers this week for the show featuring Hardy versus Hardy, up almost 10% from last week's showings. While WWE Raw averaged 3.3 million viewers, the taped show from London this week.
That's why.
It's down around 200,000 viewers from last week. A lot of people read the spoilers.
I read it online before I watched it.
It was a good show. It was a good Raw.
It was a solid show. But I watched the spoilers. I'm like,
you can't say it was a good Raw, can you? You can't sit there and say it was a good Raw.
What was the
Why so much hate?
What was the standout moment on Raw for you?
Standout moment on Raw for me?
Yes.
Was Roman Reigns and his lack of a smile at any point during his time in the ring. Because I think Payback is going to be a pivotal moment for Roman Reigns.
I think Payback is going to be off the charts excitement.
Everybody out there on all 3 cameras,
yes,
you are going to fall in love with Roman Reigns at Payback.
I don't know if I'd say that. I think Roman Reigns will become
They're going to fall in love with him.
The biggest heat machine in the company.
They're going to fall in love with him. We'll outline that scenario on Primetime Extra after this broadcast.
Extra.
Welcome to the PWR Event Center, brought to you by PWRshow.com, where you can subscribe to the PWR Now Network and watch all of our shows on demand. Ring of Honor Wrestling returns to Milwaukee's Turner Hall on Sunday, June 12th. This is a show you won't want to miss, and tickets are moving incredibly fast for this event. Tickets are available now at papstheater.org. The Super Friends Fan Fest invades Milwaukee on May 7th and May 8th at the Days Inn Hotel and Suites on South 13th Street. Meet Mean Gene Okerlund, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Bobby Heenan, Al Snow, Melina, Angelina Love, and more at this huge event. Find out more now at superfriendsfanfest.com. Also on Saturday night, May 7th, MIAW Wrestling will still be at Papa Luigi 2 in South Milwaukee for Bobby the Brain Heenan Night. Tickets will be available at the door for only $15 each.
It's time for this week's TNA Impact Wrestling Report. And yesterday on PWR Feedback Friday, which is available on our YouTube channel, we discussed the future of... What?
We did this yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
I caught a lot of heat. Let's just go to Julie. People like seeing her, and they can go to YouTube and watch their TNA report.
I want to talk more about it.
They want to see Julie, trust me.
Next week, we have the results of the PWR Fantasy Draft, along with the 2016 Draft Special. But when we come back, it's DHHS along with an NXT report.
Honor Wrestling rolls into Milwaukee on Sunday, June 12th at the Turner Hall Ballroom with a 7 p.m. bell time. Visit ROHWrestling.com now for tickets and info.
Gruber Law Offices, we understand that when you've been injured, life is tough. That's why we offer so many services for free. First call, free. First consultation, free. Stuck at home or in the hospital? We'll come to you for free. We'll deal with the insurance company for you and get you the help you need. Call Gruber Law Offices now. We don't get paid until you do, and your first consultation is always free.
You know, Damien, this week's DWHS was going to be about China, but we don't have enough time to go into how much she has meant to me.
Well, we did it on Thursday.
We can go to PWRshow.com. My blog is there on her. But let's talk about the NXT kids and being on the main roster.
They're grown men and women.
Fine, they are. They're exactly that. But my biggest fear, my biggest concern is they're getting too much too soon. Not that the fans won't appreciate it, but the talents, the guys that have been in the Raw and SmackDown locker rooms for years are putting these guys and girls over clean. Eventually, there's going to be a little bit of revolt because their spots are going to be taken. So let's just hope that going forward that the NXT superstars and the Raw and SmackDown superstars can play nice. Otherwise, I think what we're going to see is what happened when William Regal worked with Bill Goldberg. They were exposed when they didn't want to work together. And with that, David Hero has buried. Does that work?
Let's go to this week. No, it doesn't work. You just buried the entire NXT roster. You called them kids. Let's go to this week's NXT report, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of those kids, Samoa Joe getting a big win on Apollo Crews this past Wednesday night at NXT.
What's weird in Dallas, people thought I was Samoa Joe. I don't see it. They thought you were Brian Saxton also, which I thought was very kabuki-ish.
That makes Brian Saxton a very lucky man.
Makes him something.
Samoa Joe defeating Apollo Crews. Here's what's interesting. I found this, and also the fact that Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy were on the program. They're still, and now granted these were pre-tape shows, but they're still working on not only NXT but also Raw and SmackDown as well.
Well, you can't deplete the NXT roster, send them all to Raw and SmackDown, and then have nobody at NXT.
They just signed 12 additional people. I think we talked about last week here on this program. Well, we don't know most of those people. They now have some 70 people in their developmental camp down in Orlando, Florida. And if this current crop of stars who have been called up are any indication of what the future holds, I think we've got a bright future in the wrestling business.
Well, and we have 70 people. It's called the shotgun effect. One of them's going to hit.
Now, you still got some great names down in NXT. Finn Balor, who I don't think should ever come up to the main roster.
Oh, he's gonna. You got Austin Aries, you got Samoa Joe, you got...
Here's what I mean by that, though, because I don't want to be perceived as burying Finn Balor. Finn Balor is the headlining main event star of NXT.
He's the John Cena of NXT.
If he comes up to the main roster, he will be a big star, but he will unfortunately not be the headlining main event star of WWE, Raw, or SmackDown. Sorry, that's just a fact because it's a bigger pond, a lot more fish swimming in it. But
Sharks.
American Alpha, the tag team champions, I believe, David Hero, great tag team. A tag team wrestling overall as of late has become tremendous, and I think you can only thank NXT and probably the Dudleys and even the Usos for what they've done to really resurge the talent level.
They've given those guys time to work on their craft and become tag team wrestlers.
So this week's NXT report. Next week, folks, here on this program, we are going to be bringing you the draft results from 2016, the 2015 draft results, along with the 2016 draft. But first, folks, we want to leave you with some footage of the recently departed China from GLCW Blizzard Brawl back in December. And I think it's some poignant footage that will, well, it will speak for itself. So we'll see you next week.